When Iran was bombed, it wasn't just the Middle East that was shaken. BRICS was also thrown into disarray from within. Last year, they were still united in calling the attack on Iran a violation of international law. But this year, under India's chairmanship, that united voice has actually weakened. This is where the true face of BRICS begins to show. Some remain steadfast in resisting Western pressure. Others speak cautiously because there are too many interests to protect. And as this war heats up, one thing becomes increasingly clear. While BRICS may be powerful on paper, it is not necessarily solid when one of its own members enters the war zone. So, geo-lovers, who truly stands as an ally, and who has been calculating costs and benefits from the very beginning? BRICS has long been promoted as a symbol of a new world order. A group of major nations supposedly capable of countering Western dominance and giving a stronger voice to the global South or the non-Western world. That portrayal isn't entirely wrong. BRICS now comprises 11 nations, from Brazil to Iran, and this forum was indeed established for political and diplomatic coordination. But the Iran conflict reveals another side. Once the explosive issue touched on energy routes, trade, defense ties, and the safety of each nation's citizens, that seemingly tight unity actually began to waver. Geopolitics enthusiasts, consider this comparison between 2025 and 2026. On June 24, 2025, BRICS issued an official statement calling the military attack on Iran a violation of international law and the UN Charter. The wording was firm. The tone was clear. At that time, BRICS still sounded like a united front. Now look at 2026. Under India's leadership, BRICS as a bloc did not immediately issue a direct response as firm as the previous years regarding the new war in Iran. This stance raises negative questions. If they could speak with one voice last year, why has the group suddenly slowed down this year when Iran is once again the target? The answer begins to emerge when we examine the structure of BRICS itself. This forum is indeed large, but it is not a formal alliance. BRICS lacks a constitutive treaty or an official founding agreement that serves as the legal basis for an international organization. It has no independent budget and no permanent secretariat. Its presidency also rotates annually. This means BRICS' ability to speak with one voice depends heavily on the political consensus among its members, including who is currently leading. In 2026, that country is India. The Iran war is not merely testing BRICS' stance toward the West. This war is also testing how far each member is willing to sacrifice for the sake of collective solidarity. And the more we examine India's position, the more evident it becomes that the issue is far more complex than simply agreeing or disagreeing with an attack on Iran. If there is one country that has made BRICS sound the quietest in this Iran war, that country is India. The evidence is evident in the official language used by New Delhi on March 3, 2026. India noted that the situation in Iran and the Gulf is worsening, emphasizing that nearly 10 million Indian citizens live and work in the region, and reminding that India's trade routes and energy supply lines also pass through the same area. India also noted that Indian citizens have been killed or gone missing as a result of the attacks in recent days. But while other nations are using harsher language, India has chosen the language of diplomacy: end the war as soon as possible. There has been no direct condemnation as strong as that issued by Brazil, China, or Russia. There are reasons why India is taking such a cautious stance. Just a few days before tensions erupted, Narendra Modi visited Israel on February 25th to 26th, 2026. Reuters reported that the visit was indeed aimed at deepening India-Israel relations amid rising threats of a US-Iran war. In his speech at the Knesset, Modi stated that India stood with Israel with full conviction, following the October 7th Hamas attacks, reaffirming a zero-tolerance policy toward terrorism, while continuing to urge the region toward dialogue, peace, and stability. A day later, In a joint statement with Netanyahu, India and Israel even elevated their relationship to a special strategic partnership, pushing for the acceleration of an FTA, cooperation on AI, critical minerals, defense, technology transfer, and even civil nuclear energy. So when war with Iran breaks out, India will not be standing on neutral ground. India is openly aligning itself with Israel. At the same time, India's ties to the United States are also being tightly woven. In February 2026, the White House outlined the terms of a new trade agreement with India, including the reduction or elimination of certain tariffs and expanded market access. In another document, the White House noted that India had committed to halting imports of Russian oil, purchasing U.S. energy products, and expanding defense cooperation with the United States over the next 10 years. In return, an additional 25% import duty on Indian goods was eliminated. This means that India's room to maneuver when the Iran war erupts is already constrained by too many competing interests: Indian citizens in the Gulf, energy supplies, trade relations with the United States, and an accelerating strategic partnership with Israel. From here, the broader pattern begins to emerge. India has not yet left BRICS, nor has India openly switched sides. But these facts point to one thing that is quite clear. When Iran was attacked, India chose to keep all doors open, and that choice has caused BRICS to lose the strong voice it once demonstrated in 2025. Then the next issue is even more complicated, because India is not the only burden. The current expanded structure of BRICS also makes reaching a consensus increasingly difficult. If the Iran war is used to gauge the true nature of BRICS, then at this point, the pattern has begun to emerge. Some members speak out strongly and directly label the US and Israeli attacks on Iran as violations of international law. Others continue to condemn the escalation, but opt for safer phrasing due to the many interests at stake. So the issue isn't that all BRICS members have suddenly turned against Iran. The issue is that when a crisis truly strikes, the political courage of each member turns out to be unequal. China is among the most firm. At a press conference on March 6, 2026, a spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that Beijing opposes the military attacks by the United States and Israel against Iran because they violate international law. China also stated its support for Iran in safeguarding its sovereignty, security, territorial integrity, national dignity, and legitimate rights. This statement is significant because China is not merely calling for de-escalation. China has taken a clear stance. The attacks are wrong, Iran is supported, and the war must be stopped immediately. Brazil has also adopted a strong tone. In an official statement on February 28, 2026, the Brazilian government explicitly stated that Brazil condemns the US and Israeli attacks on targets in Iran. Brazil also emphasized that the attacks occurred while negotiations were still underway, and called for respect for international law, the protection of civilians, and restraint to prevent the conflict from escalating further. This positions Brazil firmly within the traditional BRICS framework, demonstrating the courage to use clear, unambiguous language when assessing Western military pressure on Iran. South Africa's position is also quite clear, even more detailed than that of many other countries. On March 6, 2026, Pretoria expressed deep concern over the crisis in the Gulf, then asserted that the US and Israeli attacks on Iran violated Article 2.4 of the UN Charter, the prohibition on the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of a state. Interestingly, South Africa did not stop there. Pretoria also condemned Iran's retaliatory attacks against several Gulf states and deemed those actions inconsistent with the limits of self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. Thus, South Africa appears the most legalistic. It views the initial attacks on Iran as unlawful, yet also criticizes Iran's retaliation against Gulf states. Russia also remains in the camp condemning military pressure against Iran, though its approach differs. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued several statements in late February and early March, characterizing the actions of the United States and Israel as aggression and warning that this war could trigger greater chaos in the region. Reuters also reported that Moscow stated it sees no evidence that Iran is developing nuclear weapons, while warning that this war could actually produce the opposite effect of what the United States and Israel intend. Thus, politically, Russia remains on the side condemning the attacks on Iran, even though its concrete actions are not as extreme as its rhetoric. If all of this were put together into a single picture, the differences would become even clearer. Some are ready to speak out firmly. Others remain close, but are unwilling to go too far in diplomatic terms. And it is precisely there that the Iran conflict has exposed the true nature of BRICS, a single forum, but one whose members are no longer moving at the same pace.